No matter what life you lead, the Virgin is a lovely number. Cheeks as fragile as cigarette paper, arms and legs made of Limoges, lips of Vinduron, rolling her china blue doll eyes, open and shut. Open to say, "Good day, Mama," and shut to the thrust of the unicorn. She is unsoiled. She is as white as a bone fish. I will be performing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs by Sexton. I came across it when we had that assignment on poets.org, and I was immediately taken back to 4 years prior when I had first seen the poem in English class at Mount San Jacinto College. Professor Larry Barkley was my professor, and it was an incredible class just on fairy tales. It was great fun. I came to know quickly that I knew nothing about fairy tales because all of us are pretty much inundated with the Disney versions. So it was quite eye-opening. I did get the author's book. When I first came across her, I did not like her stuff at all. It was depressing. In her poor book, she didn't look too happy, and it was just depressing. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know why I got into it this time. I have no idea. I tend to prefer happy things, victorious pieces, overcomer, underdog, makes good kind of stories, but somehow this struck me as interesting. This Snow White rendition is full of twist and mental and emotional insight of the author. Anne Sexton was a feminist, and unfortunately she committed suicide October 4th, 1974. Sexton uses variations of the original Brothers Grimm version as a basis for her interpretation, and she adds in lots of sarcasm and feminist insights and accusational type things. As I perform the piece, though, it is my hope and intention to lessen the sarcasm. We begin. Once there was a lovely virgin called Snow White. Say she was 13. Her stepmother, a beauty in her own right, though eaten, of course, by age, would hear of no beauty surpassing her own. Beauty is a simple passion, but oh, my friends, in the end, you will dance. The fire dance in iron shoes. Her stepmother had a mirror, which she referred to something like the weather forecast. A mirror that proclaimed the one beauty of the land. Looking glass upon the wall, who is fairest of us all? And the mirror would reply, you are fairest of us all. Pride pumped in her like poison. Suddenly one day the mirror changed its tune. Queen, you are full fair, 'tis true, but Snow White is now fairer than you. Until that moment, Snow White was no more important than a dust mouse under the bed. But now the queen saw brown spots on her hands and 4 whiskers over her lip, so she condemned Snow White to be hacked to death. Bring me her hot, and I will salt it, and I will eat it. The hunter, however, let his prisoner go, and brought a boar's heart back to the castle. The queen chewed it up like cube steak, and she was lapping her slim white fingers. Ah! Now I am fairest. Snow White walked in the wildwood for weeks and weeks, and at each turn there were 20 doorways, and at each stood a hungry wolf, its tongue lolling out like a worm. The birds called out lewdly, talking like pink parrots, and the snakes hung down in loops, each a noose for her sweet white neck. On the 7th week she came to the 7th mountain, and there she found the dwarf house. It was as droll as a honeymoon cottage, and completely equipped with 7 beds, 7 chairs, 7 forks, 7 hair dryers, and 7 chamber pots. Snow White ate 7 chicken livers and lay down at last to sleep. The dwarfs, those little hot dogs, walked 3 times around Snow White while the sleeping virgin cooled them. They were wise and waddled like small czars. Yes, it's a good omen, and it will bring us luck. They stood on tiptoes to watch Snow White wake up. She told them about the mirror and the killer queen, and they asked her to stay and keep house. Beware of your stepmother, soon she will know you are here. While we are away in the mines during the day, you must not open that door. Looking glass upon the wall, the mirror told. So the queen dressed herself up in rags, and she went out like a peddler to trap Snow White. She went across 7 mountains. She came to the dwarf house, and Snow White opened the door, and she bought a bit of lacing. The queen fastened it tightly around her bodice, as tight as an ace bandage, so tight that Snow White swooned. She lay on the floor, a plucked daisy. When the dwarfs came home, they undid the lace. She revived miraculously. She was as full of life as a soda pop. Beware of your stepmother. She will try once more. Looking glass upon the wall. Once more, the mirror told. And once more, the queen dressed in rags. And once more, Snow White opened the door. This time she bought a poisoned comb, a curved 8-inch scorpion she put in her hair. She swooned again. The dwarfs returned, took out the comb, and she revived. Miraculously! She opened her eyes as wide as Orphan Annie. Beware! Beware! But the mirror told. The queen came. Snow White, the dumb bunny, opened the door, and she bit into a poisoned apple and fell down the final time. When the dwarfs returned, they undid her bodice. They looked for a comb, but it did no good. Though they washed her with wine and rubbed her belly with butter, it was to no avail. She lay as still as a gold piece. The 7 dwarfs could not bring themselves to bury her in the dark black ground, so they made a glass coffin, and they set it upon the 7th mountain. All who could pass by were able to peek in on her beauty. A prince came one June day, and he would not budge. He stayed so long his hair turned green, and still he would not leave. The dwarfs took pity upon him, and they gave him the glass Snow White, its doll eyes shut forever. He planned to keep her in a far-off castle. As the prince's men carried the coffin, they stumbled and dropped it, and a chunk of apple, it flew out of her throat, and she woke up miraculously. And thus, Snow White became the prince's bride. But the wicked queen, she was invited to the wedding feast, and when she arrived, there were red-hot iron shoes in the manner of red-hot roller skates clamped upon her feet. First your toes will smoke, and when your heels will turn black, and you will fry upward like a frog. Ribbit, ribbit. And so she danced until she was dead, a subterranean figure, her tongue flicking in and out like a gas jet. Meanwhile, Snow White held court, rolling her china blue doll eyes open and shut, and sometimes referring to her mirror, as women do. And see. Thank you for watching Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs by Sexton. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, well, guess what? There'll be red-hot iron shoes waiting for you too.